So I was a clown with the Ringling Brothers. I drove the clown car for the greatest show on earth in 1996 and 1997. Race isn't really the issue. It's the caste system. It's the powerful people that keep everyone on the bottom fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Cheer out my chin. I set it down real carefully. Rich people went to the opera and the ballet. Everybody went to the circus. So rich people are not on social media because they don't have to be, because they control the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
But what do we consume? Social media.
Did anyone ever tell you kind of look like Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
I'll take whatever.
Kind of give off that vibe.
I'll take whatever. They just shot that movie, The Bike Riders, here in Ludlow. In my theater. My theater was in it.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
Norman Reedus is a pretty big guy. He was in that movie. So he was in The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So the Ludlow Theater was in that movie. And Tom was in town for it too, but it was pretty interesting.
Nice.
Cool.
No, that's
cool.
super cool. Heck yeah, man. Well, we're here. We're recording. I
We're
appreciate
good?
you.
Yeah, I put my camo shirt on because I show a little less sweat than the t-shirt.
No, you're good.
You're cool as a cucumber there.
No, I mean, I was sweating earlier, and it takes a little bit for me to sweat. I've been sitting in the sauna a lot recently, so yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Paul Miller of Ludlow, Kentucky, and I can't really do justice as to giving a little high-level intro of who you are. So if you want to do that, by all means.
Oh, sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you to the power of positive social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we connected on LinkedIn, and Paul Hallinan Miller is how you can find me on LinkedIn. But I'm a troublemaker professionally. Clowns get in trouble, and what's funny is watching a clown get out of trouble. And that's every Simpson episode. It's every Charlie Chaplin. It's every Buster Keaton. So I was a clown with the Ringling Brothers. I drove the clown car for the greatest show on earth in 1996 and 1997. So 30 years now I've been in the circus business.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I started a circus in Chicago called Circus Theme, and I learned a lot of lessons. That was right after September 11th, and worked with a lot of refugee kids from all over, mostly Sudan, before South Sudan was South Sudan. So like that civil war, and then I started Circus Mojo in Ludlow, Kentucky 17 years ago. And we started the Beerkus Brewing Company.
Shout out.
So like in the circus, if you're not selling popcorn, you're not really in the circus, okay?
Right.
It's like how I look at it.
Yeah.
So when I was with Ringling, the guy that owns it is a billionaire, and he got there selling a $9 box of popcorn because the box costs about 2 cents and the popcorn costs nothing. And he hires all the broken old Bulgarian and Romanian acrobats to sell it. So I mean, it's a weird hustle. But the circus is 8 years older than the United States of America. So we just celebrated 250 years as an experiment in democracy. Well, a circus is not an experiment. It's a business. It's 258 years old. So now I'm really kind of identifying like in the circus. And no one will go see a robot, Chat GPT, AI circus. The more the world goes to tech, the circus is as far away from that as possible.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear.
So that's kind of is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, I mean, if you do want to learn more just about the extent of his involvement in the circus industry, just go to his LinkedIn. I mean, it's really long, which is a great thing. Credibility is something I always advocate for when it comes to just about anything. If you're just someone who's talking about, I just like doing this and I just like doing that, and then maybe you give up 3 months, or you pretend to be a professional in something, but no, I mean you've been at it, and I don't think I've genuinely met someone who's one, been in the circus, and two, let alone has that in depth of credibility doing being in the circus industry. So this is
it's really the cool thing is the circus is like, as a 51-year-old straight white guy, okay, like I'm a minority in the circus world, okay, I think that demographic of people rules the world in a lot of ways, but in the circus we're like a minority, and I've been able to get visas for people from 50 different countries to come here and help us.
Nice.
And
that's amazing.
If there's one thing that I've done that is, I think, the most impressive or has opened the most doors for people, it's So what I would do is I'd put an ad on LinkedIn for an acrobat, a tight wire walker, a gymnast, whatever, and no one from the United States would have that skill set. So then 18 people from Argentina would apply, people from Brazil, like people from all over the world, and then I would argue with Mitch McConnell and Thomas Massie, which Mitch McConnell's my senator and Thomas Massie's my congressman, and they're both on their way out. Like Massie lost his election with $30 plus million from. Anyway, and McConnell is on his last leg, but they both helped me with visas because I would argue, hey, most visas truly go to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's district because most H-1B visas are for tech. And no one in Kentucky is seeking that H-1B visa, and there's maybe 700, 800,000 are approved every year. And I'm like, look, why does California get them all? So they would support my visa application. And then people were like, I got an artist from Argentina, a visa, and she ended up working in Abu Dhabi at Ferrari World, making thousands of dollars a week.
Wow.
And then, I got a guy from Brazil, I got his visa. Then he ended up doing like 10 years with Cirque du Soleil, making like real money. And that's cool because now I'm reverse engineering it and I'm calling it my Kentucky Fried Circus, KFC initiative.
Nice.
And we're going global. Like if you go to Ludlow, so I'm building a brewery right now with a circus group in Rwanda, and I'm building a circus with a brewery outside of Bogota, Colombia. So that's what's really fun. And then we're going to have an amazing race to see how long does it take Ludlow to get its act together? Like how long, where's more corrupt, the USA or Sesquile, which is the part in Colombia? Where's more corrupt, Kigali or Kentucky? And if we make a TV show about it, people are going to tune in globally and put a lot of positive pressure on decision makers, and because social media, content is king.
Nowadays.
And I'm just a jester, I'm a jester.
No, dude, that's amazing. I fully support it. Number one, that's entirely what I want to put out there. I mean, you are just to kind of go from that to what you're also doing, running for mayor of Ludlow. You're kind of like a this direct this individual who's directly involved with immigration, and I think it's amazing because you're giving people a chance to do something that obviously they weren't doing in their home countries, and that's what it all comes down to.
And we don't make circus freaks in America. Parents don't want their kids to be in the circus here. You want them to go to get their masters, go to physical therapy school, be a banker, the circus is but that's how we've been able to get the visas, because we just literally don't make those people in the United States. So I can argue that says these skills don't exist here. Therefore, if my business is going to work, I need you to prioritize this visa, and it's worked. And it's
Yeah, and there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding how you mentioned we don't make the freaks here in the States, and I mean. It's just sad because, I am someone who advocates for, making sure you have, things together. Of course, if you need, a job to, fund yourself, stay alive, have a home, food, shelter, then do that. But, we also live in a world where once you're done with that job, you have, freedom to do whatever else. And it's just sad to see, I definitely don't. I don't blame the people, who don't have motivation or who feel that they can't do that, because I mean, I believe life's a two-way street. It's not just someone's fully at fault for what's going on in their circumstances. There is obviously some blame to be put on for the powers that be that essentially control everything, that can help people out that might want to do stuff like that, and
that's where the disruptor is celebrated, right? Like Elon Musk per se is a disruptor. Facebook was a disrupting force. Until I'm actually a disruptor.
Exactly.
I qualified Ludlow as a third world country, which irritated many very powerful people because. The caste system, there's this book, Isabella Wilkerson, and it's called The Caste, The Origin of Our Discontent. And it talks about race isn't really the issue, it's the caste system. It's the powerful people that keep everyone on the bottom fighting with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I qualified Ludlow as a third world country, it was because our school needed improvement, our renter to homeowner ratio was off, I qualified us as a food desert because we didn't have a grocery store or a full-time restaurant at the time. We just had the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club. And schools needed improvement, like it was a weird, but for 8 years, 18 to 25-year-olds from Germany came here and they spent 10 months and they inspired the young people. And then we took young people from Ludlow, Kentucky and got them their passports and took them to Germany and just really, like when a poor kid gets a passport, man, they don't want to come home.
Yeah.
And that's like running away with the circus.
Yeah.
And that's the arc of that. I mean, that's where where the rubber meets the road. And doing that, like Ludlow from 2010 to 2020 was the hottest residential real estate market in the whole state of Kentucky. And I can say thank the Germans, and I don't fight. People that are fighting me, I'm like, I'm not going to spend the energy fighting. I call it a pie fight. It's sweet and dirty,
Literally.
Yeah, fight with me, let's see how that goes. So, it is weird, but it also has been so much fun.
Good. No, good. Hold on real quick. I just want to make sure that everything is good on this side. Hey everyone, before we continue the segment, don't forget to subscribe, like, dislike, leave a positive comment, leave a negative comment. I don't care. Thanks for watching, and now on to the program. Okay, first question I like to ask, people that I have on and whatnot is essentially, any sort of defining moment or defining trait that you can, give credit to as to why you're here right now, doing the things that you do.
I'm here right now because of my art teacher at Covenant Catholic. So Tim Haters, who, really, I didn't take art my freshman year because I was busy playing football and I was a work-study kid. And the choice at Covenant Catholic was, do you keep lifting, do you keep work-study or do you do plays across the street at Notre Dame? And I was like, man, that's pretty easy. So I got into the theater and that was great. And that was interesting because Covenant Catholic is, a high caste. Okay, these are the people that run a lot of things, and I'm a low caste guy. I worked every day cleaning up after folks and painting the whole school. And Donald Trump's lawyer in the impeachment trial was Pat Cipollone. He graduated from Covenant Catholic in 1984.
Wow,
11 years ahead of me.
Wow.
Okay, so I want to make Pat Cipollone really famous, because to his credit, he did his job. He defended him in the impeachment trial. Then legend has it, he's the one guy that kept Donald Trump in the White House on January 6th. And who wants nothing to do with Donald Trump's second administration? Pat Cipollone, right? So this is, and that's what's so interesting is the different mafias that run things and playing the clown and running for office and mixing it up. And so I learned so many things in high school. And the bullies are real, man. The bullies are everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. And
it's like the class clown or the class bully. And we know that everyone is cheering for the clown. Not a lot of people are putting their hands up, but even the teacher would rather deal with the class clown than the bully.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the bully eventually runs out of opportunities.
Yeah.
Hence, this election cycle and who deals with who. So high school is rough, but it was wonderful. And so that was the defining moment.
Okay.
And look at this obnoxious guy, man.
This
Can
is
you
Monty.
tell? His circus name is the Maharaja Mojo de Montague.
Maharaja. Dude, I just went to the Indian restaurant in Wilder, Maharaja.
The Maharaja. So we found him in the woods. Look, he's showing his butt. Turn around. Hey, come on, show your better side. Show your better side. Oh, he's a clown more than anything.
This guy.
We found him in the woods during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
He weighed 16 pounds when we found him. He was a mess.
Wow.
And he
How
performed.
old is he?
Maybe 6.5, 7.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right.
But he only missed 2 shows. He's got the best attendance record in anyone in my organization.
This guy.
Monty's his nickname, but the Maharaja Mojo de Montague.
Montague.
Yeah, and he's such an attention whore. Look at him.
I know he's ready.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I love it.
Hey,
I love it.
lay down and eat your bone.
That's funny.
Oh, jeez.
No, yeah, I totally agree. You definitely have,
That's the question here. Where did you go to high school?
I went to Boone County High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that here in the 275 loop.
Yeah.
Nobody, people that move here school, man. I went to Howard or I went to Brown. What do you mean? I went to Holmes. It's such a funny thing around here.
Yeah, it really is. It's always
only here.
Yeah.
I've traveled. I've been in 25 different countries working. I've lived in Chicago, New York City. I live in Manhattan. I've lived everywhere. Only here do they want to know school when they mean high school. It's
I wonder why that is, honestly, and it makes one think about, why, does it have to do with, the education system? Does it have to do with, just the people here in general, like how tight knit I wouldn't call it the community, but Cincinnati Tristate Area is just.
Well, it's a city of 7 hills, and people stay on their hill.
Yeah,
they got their jewelry spot, they got their chili parlor. You're either like a Gold Star, you got your season tickets. You do something. Yeah. But man, East Siders, they don't go to West Side. Del High is never in Madisonville. It's just a weird. And the Fort Thomas people, man, they won't cross that Licking River. It's just strange, but that's.
And it's so funny. So I grew up in Florence Union area. 2022, I bought a condo in Coleraine.
Okay.
I still own it. I rent it out.
Nice.
And my fiance lives in Marymount. So I'm like, I don't understand the whole, I'm not going over here. I'm like, it's.
I'm from Cleveland, and what's cool, you have Canada, you have Cleveland. So like everything serves the mothership.
Yeah.
There's no Kenton County, Campbell County, Boone County. There's no, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. It's like, I think it's diffused on purpose because by having all these little fiefdoms, everyone can milk the proletariat.
Gotcha.
I mean, like there's like and that's my candidacy for Ludlow. Like, we're a 4th class home rule city. We were the lowest taxed municipality in Kenton County in 2009. We are now the highest taxed municipality. We pay more taxes than Fort Mitchell. Wow. We pay more than Covington. We pay more than Fort Wright. And what I want to talk to people about is like often people vote outside of their best interest. Like that happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you don't have to like me, but if I am elected, I'm going to dissolve Ludlow and you're going to save money on your taxes. And I'm going to have a referendum. We can either, my druthers would be to merge with Covington because they got great restaurants and they celebrate Pride Month, things I'm interested in. I'm neither gay nor Confederate, but Ludlow celebrates the Confederacy. So the second option would be to merge with Fort Wright. So like, Dave Hatter's the mayor there. If you like guns and Walmart, it's a lower tax base, we'll merge with Fort Wright. Like we are adjacent to Fort Wright. Yeah, yep. If we want to dissolve completely and have Kenton County take over all services, the sheriff could come in and we would save money there. Or if you want to remain a city that's controlled by the aristocracy that celebrates the Confederates, I will resign immediately. So I'm going to have a public referendum. And if you're a property owner in Ludlow, you're going to be able to vote because that's how our country was created. Yeah. Only property owners could vote. Right. Women couldn't vote.
Right.
White men, they own property. So I mean, if you live in Ludlow, you can vote, and if you own property in Ludlow, you can vote. And we're going to do it on St. Patrick's Day because I'm an Irishman, and we might extend it for a week. And it's going to be weird, but it'll be an experiment in democracy if I get elected. And if I don't, that's fine. It's been. Yeah. Part performance art, but politics, Paul, is what I celebrate,
Yeah. Definitely want to get on that. This came to my mind earlier, just the thought of like those who have, been in the performing arts and then gone into politics, and you either hear this, I have only mainly heard the stigma that, people in performing arts, it's, easy for them to be in politics because, in politics you perform basically, and like whenever you're, quote unquote manipulated or handled, it's easy for you to like be told what to do because you're an actor and whatnot. And and then the other side of that though is, politics is not, exclusive to a specific, type of person. And throughout history, I think people have attempted to try and make it that way. And I definitely think that, we need, I guess what you would consider diversity in, the establishment, because it can't just be, the same sort of person that ends up, like I said, being handled by whoever's around them, and they just turn into the same person that was before them, and then before them, and then it's just a silhouette at that point, and it's
Ronald Reagan, when I was growing up, he was the actor turned president, but and he quote unquote beat the Soviet Union. But I'm really more interested in sharing with people like the idea of the Estonian singing revolution. So from like 87 to 91, the whole country of Estonia came together and they sang songs. Wow. And we don't know that
No, I didn't
story.
know. Yeah,
we don't know it because we were busy watching Rocky V. We watched Rocky 4. We watched, and then Rocky 5 is like him against Drago, and like the Russian guy, and performance enhancing, and he's working out in Siberia, and so we were so busy watching that. But in Estonia, they came together and they sang for 4 years, and they got rid of the Soviet Union. No one was killed. So we watched Tiananmen Square. We watched, one guy standing after Tiananmen Square, then one guy stood in front of a bunch of tanks, and that was supposed to, make us fear and worry about communism. As long as they keep us fighting and worried about stuff, but the Estonians, my daughter, she did a circus project in Estonia. I got to go there. It's right across from Helsinki. It's an amazing, and then below Estonia, it's Lithuania and Latvia, or Latvia, then Lithuania, and they all held hands, and that's the Baltic Revolution is all singing and holding hands. And we're busy arguing Black Lives Matters, Blue Lives Matters, All Lives Matter. As long as we're arguing,
right,
they're going to keep manipulating us.
Yeah.
But if we all got together and sing, like the Estonians did it, and the powers that be, media, we're not supposed to learn that. We're supposed to just watch Rocky 5.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely. I didn't even know that was. I'll have to definitely read more about that because that's very inspiring.
It's crazy.
And two, I've always, felt within me before I could, express how I felt essentially.
Hey, come here.
And I definitely know now
Sit
that
down.
when it comes to average people, they've never fought. The average people throughout, all of history, they might have, their feuds with their neighbors and whatnot, but it's never been this entire group of people hates this entire group of people, same thing vice versa, and it's never been like that. And my mind just immediately goes to the Muslims and the Jews, all throughout history, those average people always got along. It was always the establishments on either side that always messed everything up, trying to control how people feel. All everything on the media, everyone from this group is like this, everyone from this group is like that, and and that's amazing that the Estonians just all those citizens collectively came together and did something that
and everybody from the rich, the poor, the plumbers, the people that were that fought the enemies. But when you have such a strong power, the Soviets, it's easy to try and it's not easy, but they did it. And how about I put him in there so he's
okay.
not distracted?
Yeah, no,
is that all right? Can you just hold on a
absolutely.
second?
Yeah.
So sorry for that maybe abrupt cut, but
No, you're
I just
good.
wanted to
No worries at all.
I didn't want to be distracted. I'm pretty distractible. So.
I'm completely the same way.
But you bring up, all right, so you want to pick it up again? Talk about the Muslims and the Jews, because I'd like to, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been the hottest topic, in my household. I'm Palestinian American.
Palestinian, okay.
Yeah, both my mom came here in her teens. She was born in a city in the territories called Elid.
Okay.
And my dad was actually born in Kuwait when his mom and dad were immigrating from that land to the States. They're from a place, a village close to my mom's village called El Hadith. And I've been back a couple times, a handful of times, not as much as I'd want to, of course. And it definitely is one of the, biggest weights on the shoulders of those who are, part of anything they really care about, especially when it's in your face and the entire world's talking about it. And for some reason, you just wish it wasn't the main thing, because essentially that's where humanity started. That little fertile crescent right there. People argue all the time humanity started right there. It's the perfect place for any sort of people who want easy access to Africa, into Europe, into Asia, blah 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 blah.
The manipulation is profound.
Yeah, exactly. And I the times I've been there, I've never experienced any conflict myself. It's definitely, a lot harder for me to, enter the space because, for someone like me, so I only have an American passport and I'm allowed to travel into, Tel Aviv, and I'm allowed to go into Jerusalem, the Holy Land, and I have certain sort of, visitor rights, part of my like visa that I enter that allows me to like, go other places, do certain things maybe. My mom, my sister, and my brother have American passports, and they have Palestinian passports. They're not allowed to do anything that I just mentioned.
Right?
Yeah. And regardless of me having a little bit more leniency, the moment I, come there, I'm met with, hours upon hours of, waiting and,
can't imagine.
interrogation. And
Really?
yeah, it's crazy. And I haven't been back since the events of October 7th. My mom and my sister have, and they definitely, when they came back, they were like, yeah, it's nothing like what it was before. No one's there, like no like tourism. It's, everything's heavily guarded. And yeah, it's just, you kind of reflect and you kind of just start to, you as an individual who focuses more on trying to be rational and seeing the world as objectively as possible and just being someone in my shoes, I definitely try my best to liberate myself, essentially like accepting ugly truths. I think accepting ugly truths is probably the best thing an individual can do for themselves, because one thing you'll never hear from me is say stuff like, oh, I'm on the right side of history, or, all you people are like this, or all you people are like that. Like, I am very much a person who if I was in the ideal world, every action would be based off that individual. Obviously that's, I think deep down everyone knows that. Like, everyone within them is like, it's the individual, no matter, I even give the benefit of the doubt to, people who, use the, rhetoric like, oh, all the Muslims are like this, or all the Jews are like that. And it's like, do you know all of them? Do you, like, and I can't get myself to really like, talk in that manner. So, and because I've entered this space, it's like, okay, like I have to now dig a little deeper and understand that, there's even rot on my side. Another liberating, thing I think an individual can do for themselves is have the ability to call the rot out within their own camp. When it comes to, politics, when it comes to, arts, when it comes to, anything, because there's good and bad everywhere.
Yes. I mean, all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really lucky because I was invited to go to Israel. By this doctor. He helped start the Hadassah. So he helped build the hospitals in Israel a long time ago.
Okay.
And he was at Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Oh, wow. All right.
And my partner's from Ghana, and he and I, Emmanuel's his name, so he and I were medical clowns. We called it Circus wellness specialists.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yoel was like, because at the time Cincinnati was like number 3. They were the number 3 children's hospital, and they're like, Yoel said, how can the number 3 children's hospital only have 2 clowns? In Israel, we have a degree in medical clowning at the University of Haifa. It's shared with the nursing school and the medical school. And we want you to come. And he was like running his mouth on our behalf, like at Cincinnati Children's. And then he invited me. And then I got to scrub in for 5 surgeries in Israel.
Oh, wow.
So in our country, in USA, if your kid's gonna go to surgery, you can give them Versed or Midazolam, which is like a synthetic opiate to get them a little bit loopy. So then you hold the anesthesia, and the kid gets knocked out. In Israel, they have a choice to you work with the dream doctors or the clowns, or do this two-part drug thing. So it's either clown and gas or drug and gas. So I got to scrub in for 5 surgeries. I'll send you the video. It's amazing, and Yoel, and it's all propaganda. Okay, like I'm on Israeli TV. It's the segment's still up there, and I'm like, Israel will be exporting medical clowns, and it's like, and I'm on the news because I'm Paul Miller, American clown, and it's propaganda. My flight got delayed. I didn't get to go to the Palestinian Circus project because I donated circus equipment. One of my students, his name's Khalid Mohammed. July 7th will be 20 years since he was killed in Chicago as a part of gang violence. So I've got 2 kids from Africa, one from South Sudan and one from Sudan proper. They came to our country because they were at war with each other. But in Circus Team, they were working together. And they both died on the streets of Chicago as child soldiers here.
Wow.
Because there's more violence. There's more guns here than in Khartoum. You know, the guns, there's no... If you have a gun, you're in the militia. You know, but in Chicago, so her name's Afaf Ahmed. She's Khalid's mother. She solved his murder, which is unheard of. I don't know what the stats of how many unsolved murders of black boys are in Chicago, but it's extraordinary. So I helped fund there. I sent circus equipment there, and I sent circus equipment to a circus in New Orleans after Katrina, and I sent circus equipment to a circus in Ethiopia in honor of Khalid. And it was crazy that years later I was invited to speak at APAC, and I got like 3 interviews. First a phone interview, and then it was before Skype. It was Skype. It was a Skype interview. It was before Zoom. And then when I said I helped fund a circus in the Palestinian Circus Project, the interview was dropped immediately, and I was not going to be speaking at APAC. But it's fun, and I knew, so I was but if we can connect with Yoel, because he, amazingly, after the events of October 7th, when the Israelis were using sexual violence against people, Yoel was the doctor that went and proved it and stopped the sexual violence from the Israeli soldiers against the Palestinians.
Wow.
So Yoel, I hope that we can connect. I found him online. He's old. He's a very old guy, but he believes he's a doctor. First, do no harm.
Yeah.
And the Israeli soldiers were doing harm, and he went out and it's fascinating that I've been able to connect those dots and be the poster boy. It's all propaganda. You know, it really is. Yeah. But, so circus is everywhere though. It doesn't matter. You know, women in Egypt invented juggling. So juggling is older than Jesus. You know, and that's cool. A woman in Africa invented juggling, and we know that from the hieroglyphics. So when I'm teaching kids, and I tell them that, especially non-white kids, you know, or kids, you know, they're like, no, get on your phones. I said, all right, guys, for the next 10 minutes, only women juggle. We're going to rewind the clock 6,000 years when boys and men were not allowed to juggle. You know? And that's true. That's true. Yeah. And then the girls are like, you're kidding me. And that's just it's a truth that is not explained very well or at all. And when I'm telling that truth, people can be like, no, it's not. And I was like, you don't got to believe me, but look it up, you know?
That's amazing. No, I mean, you keep throwing these facts at me I never knew, and I mean, I'm learning so much.
Thank you for this opportunity, because every podcast, you know, we just hope for more clicks and more information, you know, and you know, the idea that Afaf solved her son's murder, and she was a Arabic translator for the Yugoslavian group when they were building the freeways across Egypt, and she was a Sudanese refugee and taught at the University of Cairo. You know, it's just these people that I've been able to meet and connect with and have real relationships with, and then to cross-pollinate that with Yoel, who invites me to Israel, and you know, it's just been really a fascinating journey using the circus and the clowns and disrupting and connecting. You know, it's not just all about disrupting; it's also connecting and trying to have platforms like this to share other ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, very, very real world experience that, you know, I don't think, you know, can be parallel to anything else, you know, regardless of, you know, what it might be that you're doing. You know, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, circus or a doctor or, you know, getting out there and, you know, just seeing, you know, the world as it be, you know, not from your phone, not from, you know, TV, not having someone else tell you this is how it is here. No, go there. I always kind of, my mom and dad always advocated for me to study abroad while I was in school. Uh-huh. And I never had too big of an interest in it. Reflecting on it, I don't really know why, but even now I reflect on it, and I just think that's still, there might not be, you know, what do they call it? Diluted, I guess, a diluted experience of what it's like where you're going, or you're only going to places that, you know, your university might only see as safe, and it's you know, if you can just, you know,
man, safe. I got a better chance getting shot at a Walmart than I do having a problem abroad. Right. Truly. Yeah. There are more guns and there's more violence. You know, it's crazy that perception of it's dangerous. It's no, it's dangerous. Everywhere is dangerous. And as long as we live in this place of fear, we're going to be upside down. Yeah. So, like I've been really lucky. I worked with a guy who was, I worked with the Small Business Development Center at NKU, so that they've been very helpful. They translate my business into spreadsheets because I don't spreadsheet. Like I can't make a spreadsheet, but you need your financials. You need to be, you're in banking, right?
Yeah,
you need. So I've been working closely with the SBDC ever since I got here, and I met a guy, Chris Simpson, who was a combat engineer. So he spent time in Iraq, he spent time in Afghanistan, and at the time I had 2 kids from Indonesia here. I sponsored their visa, and I was like, when I met him, I was like, Assalamu alaikum. I got 2 young Muslims in Indonesia. They're not from Indonesia. They're in Ludlow. They're not here to blow anything up, man. They're just here to juggle. Assalamu alaikum. You got to come down here,
Yeah.
And he was really like, Chris was like, he was so, because I was really pushing his buttons. But it was like my meeting, and I was in a safe space, and my friends from the Small Business Development Center, like, I got a long leash when I'm with them.
Yeah.
So Chris came down, and to his credit, like, he helped me. He said, Paul, you're not running a circus. What you're running is an education center. And at the time, education was the 7th leading export of the United States. It was all these foreign Kuwaiti students and Oman students and from Jordan and Saudi Arabia. That's how they built all the dormitories at NKU, was all these foreign students who were paying full sticker price. No Pell Grants. They're getting the health insurance. They're getting the meal ticket. They're getting the full meal plan. No cutting costs. No FAFSA forms. So like there was this like, instead of the military industrial complex, it was the education, all these foreign students here. And so it was great because he's like, every time they come, so I started calculating how, that foreign education thing worked. And then he helped me get the grant. It's called a STEP grant, the State Technical Export Program Grant. And Kentucky is the 7th leading exporter. And it goes back to tobacco and whiskey, all right, and horses. But now it's aerospace, and like Toyota picked us to be their factory and their headquarters, so it's trucks. So wow. Kentucky is the 7th leading exporter, maybe not right now, but at the time, or maybe we're the 5th now, I don't know, I'm a little bit out of touch. But I got this grant, and I went to Canada on this trade mission with Governor Bashir I, and against the grain brewing from Louisville was there, and we threw a party at the U.S. consular's house in Toronto, and I met the ambassador, and I took some guys from the trade mission to the Cirque du Soleil, the National Circus School graduation show, and that blew their mind because they had not been to. It was really esoteric and really sexy and weird, and these guys from Kentucky were like, but it was so cool. Yeah. So I've been using that grant every year, and I argue smart bombs or smart clowns. Like we're a much better return on investment. For $5,000 last year, I got to go to East Africa. And I went to Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and it was really, so that was like my taxpayer money, I got to go there. And I picked Rwanda. I picked this trip because I knew a lot of kids from Kenya. I didn't know, I had an acrobat from Uganda, and I set up a memorandum of understanding with the circus group in Kampala, like in Uganda. And but I had not been to Rwanda. But it fascinated me because, like, they killed 1 million people with hatchets and machetes in 100 days.
Yeah. Yep.
But you know what they've done? They are fixing it. Like, they believe in restorative justice. They sit down and they're talking about it. Like, they forgave people. They moved on as the best they could. So I organized the Circus East Africa branch. So I'm registered with the Rwandan Development Board, so like they talk about how they're like really not corrupt and how easy it is to make a business. So I met at the Rwandan Development Board, and the first guy I met with, they're like, well, you have to get every page of your operating agreement notarized. And my operating agreement is 300 pages because we're filed with the Security and Exchange Commission. I did a Regulation A filing, and then I did a CF filing. So it's a really long. And I showed them online the PDF, and I was like, really, every page? And they're like, or you have to go to the U.S. Embassy. So I delayed my flight for 2 days. I hired a driver, put on my tie, my jacket, and I went to the U.S. Embassy, and I talked my way in. I got a business card from them, and they were like, what is Circus? Because like they don't know what the circus is.
Yeah.
Because they really kill each other. Like their circus is a totally foreign. So the security guards there. So like I didn't get into the embassy proper, but they sent out a gentleman named Eugene. who like works for the USA, but he's a Rwandan citizen, and he's a senior trade specialist for the USA, but he's for Rwanda. And he didn't. The guards there, them trying. I was like, well, it's part acrobatics, but it's juggling. What is juggling? I'm like, can I? Then the guards, I said, could I borrow your hat? Can I borrow your hat? Yeah. So like, I took the hat and I put the hat on my nose, you know. So I put the hat, and I was like, oh, so this is circus. You know. That's so then they're like, circus. Oh yeah. So it's just like, so again, this is like white power, white privilege. You know, this is the Cuff Calf Mafia. Like these are, but I'm taking all these like tools. And then it was so great. So the next day, Hakeem, who was like my advisor, we went back. We made an appointment, and I brought the business card from the U.S. Embassy. We made an appointment with somebody else. And like within 2 hours, the Birkis East Africa branch was registered in Rwanda. So I have like a tax ID number. I got a partner from Uganda who's really amazing guy, Tim. There's a whole other story about him. And then this guy, Jonathan, who he's been running this circus there for about 10 years. And he was affected somehow by the genocide. I don't ask. You know, it's like one of these things, it's not my business.
Right.
Similar, like you're Palestinian, I'm not going to get into like how you know, like that is enough, okay? Like
right.
You have history, there's conflict, it's none of my business, okay? Same thing in Rwanda, you know. So Jonathan, but he got to go to Sweden with Clowns Without Borders as a young man. So then the Germans gave him these 4 artistic bicycles. And then at one point, before the pandemic, there were like 100 kids waiting in the gym 2 days a week for them to practice on these bicycles. And they only got 5 minutes at a time.
Wow.
So then the pandemic comes, the Germans send him like about 10, 20 more bikes. And now he like he doesn't have a space, so he practices outside. And these kids are incredibly talented on this bicycle. They stand up. This guy Bertrand, he's 18. He was he got 3rd in the world in the online competition, but they kicked the Belgian embassy out because they won't pay reparations, because the Belgians are the ones that sowed all the seed of hatred and gave the minority all the weapons and really fomented all of the genocide. Yeah. Because race, again, there's no black people in Africa. There's different tribes, but in our country, we would say, oh, the black people are killing black people. Like, no, you're so backwards. No, right. It's like it's giving minorities weapons and then fomenting anger. Like right now, like Elon Musk is fomenting all this anger in Northern Ireland against a Sudanese guy. Yeah. Northern Ireland, Brexit is so messed up. And as long as he keeps them fighting, we won't fix Brexit.
Exactly.
But Ireland could be reunified. But, you know, he's a South African. So, like, they just kicked out a bunch of Ghanaians. They flew all these Ghanaians, like, out of South Africa. The Ghanaians are not the problem. It's the 10% of people that control 90% of South Africa. Right. Like, wake up!
Literally.
And soon, like, people are going to be waking up to that. And that's why I'm running for mayor. Whether I win or not, it's like the manipulation of the lowest caste is so easy. And Musk is doing it now in 2 countries. And we have to unplug, you know, like I'll call you out. You got to quit driving his car. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, which is not fair, okay? No, but it's hard.
I do my best to just, you know, try and not affiliate myself, you know, because I don't like him at all, really.
No, I'm sorry. It's not fair, but I'm just, you know.
No, I get it, and I'll tell you, I got the car mainly because of the self-driving and the security features on it.
Just to play it.
I know. No, I definitely understand that, and
that's easy for me. I can, and again, running my mouth is not hard.
Right? No. I get I get it completely.
But I want to show you this because I got these out as props because like when I was there, like USAID had just like canceled. Like when I was in South Africa, I was in Cape Town. And I was meeting with Tyler. He's the head of commercial services. So Chris Simpson, my friend from the military, who's like with the U.S. Commercial Services, he was smart. He took the golden parachute, so he got his like 6-month severance and was out. But when I was in Cape Town, it literally was the last day of USAID. Oh, wow. And I was meeting with Tyler. His last name is escaping me, but I got his business card. And he's the head of commercial services. So I've been doing this work for like 11 years, going to the embassies and the consulates and really trying to like connect for visas and build my circus. But I've never got to meet with the big dog, the top dog. And he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, And I had this 11 by 17 piece of paper that I smuggled through, and I had a plastic Crayola marker. So I'm like, I need to take notes for my bosses. He's like, what are you doing here? I was like, I know I can't bring my laptop, I can't bring my phone, but is it okay if I take notes? He's like, fine. And he's really just dismissive of things. And I'm like, Circus is my passion, but I'm here officially with the Circus Brewing Company, and I'm going to build breweries all over the world, but I'm going to build one in South Africa because people speak English and there's a lot of white people, and I'm going to screw up a lot. And before I do one in Ghana with my Ghanaian partner and my Ethiopian partner, like I want to lose, I want to learn, and I'm going to learn in South Africa. And he's kind of pissed. And then these two people come in, and it's literally their last day at USAID, and they're like, giving their personal contact information to their boss, which they're really not supposed to or allowed to do, but commercial services, USAID is under it because it's all, And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I'm a clown. And like, you're a clown. What do you do? And there's this like big chair. There was a chair. And there's a Marine over there, and it's just really like tense, and there's cameras. And I said, I can balance this chair on my chin, but I don't know if it's gonna be okay. I said, the Marine woke up this morning and wanted to shoot something, and if I put this chair in my chin, there's a good chance he's gonna shoot me. And everyone's like tense, and Tyler's now kind of half smirking, and he's the boss. So I'm watching the boss, and these two women from USAID, and then I'm like, well, it's your last day. It might be my last day too. So I pick up the chair, I balance the chair on my chin. I set it down real carefully. There is a picture of that. Tyler has a picture. He is now in Egypt, or like he was leaving Cape Town to go to Egypt. So there is a picture of me balancing a chair on my chin in the Cape Town consulate. But he said, I want to keep my job. I can't give you this picture, Paul. I was like, dude, I get it. But what was neat is then he was on my team. And I talked about doing a thing in Toronto at the Consul General's house. And I said, I want to do a beer thing here. And he's like, oh, it's a single market promotion. We can do it. So all of a sudden he was like on our team. And that's just so much fun.
Yeah.
But then when USAID, I was later in the year, I was in, check out these pencils. So when I was in Rwanda, this guy was making these pencils, and they're made out of newspaper.
Wow.
So like.
Oh, wow.
So here, he has this proprietary, it's really neat. So like here's the one without the wrapper.
Wow.
But then what happened, like these are the Save the Children ones. So like he had bought all these branding and all these wrappers and stuff. And then when USAID got canceled, nobody paid for this stuff. So literally like it broke his business. So here's a guy in Rwanda, and the pencil sharpener is like, that's the iPad. Because if these kids are gonna get educated, there's no Wi-Fi. They're literally paper and pencil. And it was just such a hard thing because like that's where like the rubber really meets the road.
Yeah, definitely.
But then when I was in Kenya, I was talking with the brewer from the biggest, like the Rheingeist brewery of Kenya. It's called 254, and the guy that owns it, he's the guy that owns half of it, I think, is Irish. So we kind of hit it off. And when I met his brewer though, he was like, "We love Trump." And I said, "Can we talk politics?" Like, I love to talk politics. He's like, "We love Trump because Trump killed USAID. USAID was going to build a toll road from Nairobi to Mombasa with an American construction company and was going to charge us a toll for 99 years. The Chinese will do it for 20 years, but we want to build our own roads. We're tired of the colonists coming and building stuff for us."
All right. Yeah.
And man, you're not going to hear that on NPR.
No.
You're not going to hear that on Fox.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that that's what I'm looking at from the pencil perspective. I'm like, man, this guy really, he lost his shirt on this. But then the next day or the next week when I was like leaving Nairobi and I got to hear that, I was like, oh, that's how USAID operate. And it's just a strange, because until you're with a local who is is making a good wage and has a voice and will share that communication with you. So I call it USA Pauly.
Nice.
It's not USAID, it's USA Pauly. So right. Like I'm going to build a brewery in Rwanda and I'm going to own a minority position. And all the kids are going to own a piece of it. And the architect that I'm working with, he's from Lebanon. Nice. So he's a refugee himself, essentially. And we're building them out of shipping containers.
Okay.
So we're going to build one in Rwanda. And these kids will have a place to live because some of their kids are homeless. They'll have a place to train. We're going to make Circus beer. We're going to make some pizza. and the kids are going to own it. Like, it's really like Kentucky Fried Chicken has a secret recipe. My recipe's not secret. You find a dump-ass part of town, you work with a bunch of kids that nobody cares about, you make a circus, you make beer, and you don't fight with the people in charge, because that's a waste of energy.
Right.
And if you can do it for 17 years in Ludlow, you can do it in Colombia, you can do it in Rwanda. And if we make a TV show about it, people are going to tune in for that. Because, like, Circus is the great... So if you look at... We met on LinkedIn. If you trace back the lineage of LinkedIn and all social media, it goes to the Circus.
Yeah, arguably, of course.
Rich people went to the opera and the ballet. Everybody went to the circus. So rich people are not on social media because they don't have to be, because they control the world.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
But what do we consume? Social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So I think that's all a relative of the circus. And that's what I'm working to, like, manipulate and use those pencils. Save the children.
Save the children.
Save the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that crazy?
These are really nice. I like these.
Take one of each, you know? Take a sharpener. I mean, I don't know how much you're using a pencil, but...
I use them all the time. I do a lot of writing, so I mean, I'm always using a pencil.
He just has a proprietary concept where he makes it out of newspaper, and just really a neat...
Can you buy them online?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, it would cost more to ship them. You know, like, when I brought 2 suitcases of circus equipment to Kenya, and my friend Jim, he was a teacher at Thomas More. He passed away, and his wife gave Alana Nelson. She gave me all his old circus stuff. So he had like a circus store, online store. So I have like so many juggling rings and juggling clubs and all this stuff. And I had 2 suitcases full of equipment when I was trying to get into Kenya. When I flew into Kenya, and there's a big grease X on one of the suitcases. And I hire like a porter, you know, the guy who's helping the stuff get through. And he's probably from the Maasai tribe. He's like really tall. So I picked the tallest, baddest ass dude. And I'm like, hey, can you help me? And he says, what is it? I said, well, it's circus equipment. What is circus equipment? I'm like, well, it's juggling props. What is juggling props? I said, well, it's a gift for my friends in Kibera. And Kibera is the largest slum in Africa. And we helped start a circus there a long time ago. And he's like, don't say gifts. They will tax a gift. And I said, well, it's a donation. No, don't say it's a donation. This is personal effects. Personal effects. We don't tax personal effects. And I'm like, but it's not personal effects, you know? Like, it's not. But if you're going to hire a consultant, you should do what the consultant says.
Right.
So he's trying to push it through, but it gets flagged. So he's got my passport, big guy. What is it? Personal effects. He unzips it, and it's like 60 juggling rings and 40 juggling clubs. And he says, $100. I said, and I'm now nervous because I'm like, $100? I got 2 bags, $200? It's a lot of money. And I pushed the whole suitcase. I'm like, I said, in America, I couldn't even get $100 on eBay for this stuff. I'm sorry, you just keep it. Can I have my passport, please? So like now I'm like bluffing with him because I would rather, well, I don't know how it's going to play out. But he's not happy now, right? Because I'm not going to pay him his $100.
Right.
And I said he could keep it. I got to go. You know, can I take my bag? Give me my passport, please. And now he's kind of like, he's like, well, what is it? I said, personal effects. He's like, personal effects. And then I start juggling. And he's like, stop. So, of course, I stop. Then his supervisor comes over, this shorter woman, and she's like, $50. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, $50. And then I have the letter, like my STEP grant, like I'm there funded with Kentucky. It's a federal grant that's funding me to go there. So I get out my letter now and I said, 50 is fine, but I need a receipt from my government. And I hand them the letter. Now they're really pissed.
Oh my God.
Because I'm asking for a receipt. And they just want a bribe. They just want their 50. They just want their money.
Right.
But now it's like, so then they give me my passport and like, you want a receipt? You got to go talk to this guy. So the porter, we zip up my stuff and then the porter goes. Then I give my phone to the porter. I'm like, I'm going to do a trick. So I put my clown nose on. Then I bounce a chair on my chin for the guy. He starts laughing at me. And I'm like, I said, it's a good thing I don't have a work visa. If I did, I'd charge you $50 for that trick. And then we would be even Steven, you know. And he's like, even Steven, funny guy. And, so I paid the $50. I got the receipt. And it was a nice way to like, because a lot of people would just like pay the $100, but I just get to play that kind of clown game of like push them a little bit. So yeah. East Africa is one of the next frontiers for our project.
Yeah, you're pioneering a lot there. That's incredible.
Did you ever play the game Oregon Trail?
No.
All right. It's like one of the very first computer games.
Okay.
You could use the keyboard to play. And like you start, I think, in St. Louis, and you have to pick who you want to be, and you have to get all the way to Oregon. And you got to get your oxen and how many bullets you're going to do. You can pick if you're going to be a banker or a farmer. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Play some Oregon Trail because it's a fun. Yeah, it's just like we're pioneers. You know, like we're pioneers in Ludlow. We're pioneers other places. You're. It's crazy, but that's the game that we're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Hearing all this is really cool.
Well, what a fun platform because it's like I'd like to send you these pictures if you want to weave them in there too because it's neat because nobody else because I want my friends in Kenya to see it. I want my friends in Rwanda to see it. In Uganda though, Katwe is like the slum there, and the Queen of Katwe was a Disney movie.
Okay.
And Filbert, one of my circus kids that was killed about 4 years ago, his dad, they used to live in Katwe, which is the slum. They're from South Sudan, but they live there because a lot of refugees live there. And Lupita Nyong'o, so she won Best Actress for 12 Years a Slave. Like, she was before she was in that movie, her breakout performance was in the Disney movie, The Queen of Katwe.
Okay.
And some of my acrobatic friends, they were extras in that movie. And Disney paid them 5,000 Kenyan shillings to be in their movie. You know how much 5,000 Kenyan shillings is?
I'm going to say extremely low.
$1.35.
Yeah. Wow.
Disney paid them $1.35 to be in their movie.
Wow.
That hurts, Disney.
Yeah.
You could do better.
They really, Disney can do it.
So those kids are going to be in my show, like they're extras in my TV show. I'm going to pay them each $135 cash. So I'm going to pay them 100 times more than Disney paid. People are going to tune in, and we're going to call out Disney because you got to spread it around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spread it around. And I hope she gets involved. I think celebrities when they see this and because again, this is the platform. This is the new talking picture, right?
Yeah.
Like the podcasts, self-produced podcasts are a huge piece of the ecosystem.
Yeah, 100%.
How long have you been doing these podcasts?
About a year now. I've had the idea of wanting to do it for a long time. When I transferred from the University of Louisville to the University of Cincinnati, some friends of mine at the time were doing like a little radio show on campus. And it was just really cool hanging out with them while they did their thing. Yeah. And then me and one friend at the time, we stayed connected, really good friend of mine still. Sometime after that, he and I were conjuring up like a idea to start like a podcast, like a pre-prepped one where we would have like, talking points already and stuff like that, like episodes planned out and whatnot. Never got around to like recording anything. We always like wrote stuff down. And I've always been into audio and video, like photography.
Okay.
Skateboarding was my first hobby growing up, and I still do it to this day.
We got a great skate park here in Ludlow.
Yeah, no, I come to it often. It's one of my favorites. It's like a training facility.
Cool. Is the steel? Would you rather wood than the steel ones? I mean, they couldn't because of the river and stuff. But
no, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't. For me, it's not much of an ask like regarding and I think it's better just because it's outdoor. Usually, wood is better just with an indoor park.
Okay.
It's hit or miss if you know what you're doing with concrete, like the Florence skate park. It's big and nice, but it's the geometry of it is kind of off. There's like certain parts of it where they might not be aligned perfectly, and the concrete they used is absolute trash. Just because it's it's very hard to
cut corners. Let's just get it.
Yeah.
Let's make a skate park, but it's going to be like mediocre.
Right. Yeah. It was meant to be a bike park, so it kind of makes sense as to why it was built the way it was. Regardless, though, come with being a skateboarder, if you're like really, really into it, then you're gonna like naturally just learn how to use a camera because you're always gonna want to film.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
So that kind of came naturally.
I mean, that's showbiz, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Kind of found myself always wanting to, shoot a photo, shoot a video of something. For the longest time, I was making music. I've been in music my whole life, basically. And I saw that you were professor at CCM at one point.
I dropped out of CCM. I told the dean, again, back to troublemaking, I said, this is a degree in dramatic performance, but we rehearsed for 8 weeks, and we do a show 4 times. Like, this is a degree in dramatic rehearsal. Like, this is baloney.
Right.
And so my sophomore year, I auditioned for Clown College, and I didn't get in because like 3,000 people. A lot of people would apply. Thousands of people would apply, and only 30 spots came open. So my sophomore year, I applied. I didn't get in. And at the time, you had to perform your boards. So if you perform twice a year, we had performance boards. And if you failed 2 in a row, you were kicked out. Or if you failed 3 over your 4-year period, you were kicked out. And I did a monologue from The Jerk, like Steve Martin's The Jerk, you know.
Okay.
And we weren't allowed to do film monologues. So,
really? Okay.
So I wanted them to kick me out, but they didn't kick me out.
Wow.
Which is fine. Like, it was good. Like, it's really, it's good. It's good I didn't get. And then my senior year, I applied for Clown College, and I got accepted. So it was my senior year. I dropped out of the circus dropped out of college and joined the circus. And then I went back and graduated. My fiance at the time said, I'm not marrying a college dropout, so you better finish. So I finished, and Renee was my ex-wife. We've been divorced amicably, but she held on to this clown about as long as she could. So, but that's my romantic advice, like we were married 28 years. So it's great. It's beautiful. We have 2 wonderful children. But one of the deals, Zadi, was like, I wasn't allowed to run for office if we were married. So, people do what they got to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But our kids are 18 and 20, and Hope,
nice.
Our daughter, is at Circus. She just got accepted to 2 circus schools in Spain.
Amazing.
And she has one more circus school that she's auditioning in Italy. And she's like, Dad, I don't think I want to do the Italian one. And I was like, well, you have it on your agenda. And the trick now is going to be for you to get your visa, darling. And I promise you, if you work really hard and you get an Italian invitation and you have a Spanish invitation, the Spaniards are going to want to give you the visa because you have the money in the bank. You're not a risk. You're going to pay them tuition, but if you don't work hard to get the Italian one, like if you don't have options, they might overpass you. But if you submit everything together and let them know, hey, and then I told her too that make sure any deposits are refundable if you don't get a visa. I said, put that in writing. Put on your credit card, so if something happens, it goes south, you can challenge the payment with your credit card company. And it was cool because she's 20, and she was like, those are some good ideas, Dad, thanks. And it's fun because, but she's going to, hopefully, it's a circus school in Barcelona from like a 5th generation. Charlie Ravel was a very famous Spanish clown. So she's going to go to circus school in Barcelona, 2-year program.
That's amazing.
And it's cool. It's just really, and there's no FAFSA forms. And it's the same thing I'm talking about, like bringing education here. It's like learning those things. She gets to bring that to Spain. And it's just going to be really, when we sold the theater, she wasn't happy because she grew up there. But she grew up meeting these people from all over the world. And that's the nepotism that I'm interested in. Like, if I got you a visa, you're probably going to take care of my little girl.
Right.
And that. Anyway, so it's been a fun way of, our son Lucas, he wants to be in construction management. So all these blueprints, I hope we're fixing up this big building together. And the Ludlow Theater, I learned a lot about historical tax credits and historical preservation. And I believe in restorative justice. We could fight all day long. It's a lot harder to build something than it is to fight about something. Right. Tearing stuff down is so easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it'll be a really fun project if the people in charge want it, but if they don't, they're in charge.
Yeah. Dude, fascinating stuff. I can only imagine how proud you are of your daughter.
Oh, it's the miracle, Zadi, is that nobody got hurt at the Ludlow Theater. For 17 years we did circus there, and we had one accident from a major company in town, and I won't say who it is, but a guy didn't follow directions and jumped off this 4-foot ball, and I said, don't jump off, sit and roll off, but his ankle was broken in a way that was like, oh, you knew. And then the company tried to challenge his workers' comp claim, and I was like, dude, no, it was funny. He ended up getting paid, but it wasn't negligence on my behalf, we had insurance, he signed the waiver, it wasn't my fault, because if you don't listen, we say in the circus there are no accidents, there are consequences. And most people live in a world of accidents. That's why we have Geico and State Farm and Timu Emu. We're all insured out the baloney, and that's why we got all our lawyers too. because we're such an accident and conflict-driven society. But if we can sing like the Estonians or do things differently, so I'm proud of everybody. I'm proud of the staff. I mean, at one point we had 17 people trying to make payroll every 2 weeks, which was hell.
I bet, yeah. No, I can only imagine.
I mean, I've got 330 investors in the Circus Brewing Company, and I hope they watch this. They may not. Some of them are frustrated with, but I'm like, look, if you don't have an asymmetrical circus play in your portfolio, you can have all the Bitcoin and Goldman Sachs and Procter & Gamble and Vanguard, but you should have a bonkers. And the Circus Brewing Company owns this 2 acres, and when I fix this all up, everyone will get a little pay. And I use Trump's opportunity zone, so we'll pay 0 capital gains. Again, smart bombs, smart clowns. I don't want to build drones, man. I want to give money to my investors.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Study your, I've had some really great lawyers who've worked outside of the box. Because we were the first Reg A filing, they charged me $50,000 and I paid it, but they learned a lot. So I raised $500,000 to do this, and. It's been really, then I did another raise. So it's been a lot of fun to fundraise for very specific projects and to buy glassware and coasters and make beer and get really, recognition. So it's been pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of just thinking about it now, someone like yourself, it seems natural to, go into, public office essentially because, You've been around the world. You know exactly what's going on. You're not just watching. Right before we started, you said you don't consume. You produce. And
I'm a bad consumer. I don't have the attention for it either. You could tell I can hardly hold still. But
that's one of the hottest topics I've been having with people recently is just how deep U.S. society is into consumerism. Everyone, wants something now, even if they can't afford it. Everyone wants to make a buck really quickly. I can't tell you the amount of friends that I have who are just so, riddled with this fear that if they don't make more money at this moment right now, then they are going to, what God only knows what happens. And it's and it's really refreshing, meeting someone like yourself who,
you're so smart to buy a condo, and rent it out, right? The real estate is, when I moved to Manhattan in the late 90s, I had to pay $8,000 to rent an apartment in New York City.
Wow.
I mean, it was great. It was a 2-bedroom. It was 108th and Columbus. So Central Park ends at 110th Street. And Renee and I found this incredible apartment. It was a no pets building. And we had this little dachshund, this little long-haired dachshund. Stogie was his name.
Aww.
But with the application, we attached our deed and the positive rent from our 2-family in Erlanger, that we had. And, that was Renee's brilliance. She's like, no more student loans, move back home. We're going to buy a house. And I listened, and this real estate play. And when I had to pay $8,000 to this broker, I said, man, that's an expensive tuition. So I sat for the New York real estate exam and I passed. And I learned about historical tax credits, and I used about air rights, selling the easement above your air, and I used that selling a stormwater easement for this project. So I'm with Fisher Development and the city of Ludlow. We're in this big lawsuit, and I'm not going to lose. Mandela, I got to go to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela spent 27 years.
Wow.
The guy who gave us the tour, he spent 15 years there as a prisoner.
Wow.
And their idea of restorative justice is he now makes a living wage, and it's his choice. He gives a tour of Robben Island twice a day. He gives a morning and an afternoon tour. And it's just like they have a big Ferris wheel, and there's a big mall there, and there's a brewery. So while people are waiting to go to this tourist attraction, it's their Disney World, is Table Island, or Table Mountain, which is this really cool cable car place, and it's a beautiful mountain. It overlooks the bay. It's so gorgeous. But they have Table Mountain, and they've got Robben Island. Mandela says, I never lose. I win or I learn.
Yeah,
and I was 12 when I heard that quote, and I was like, oh, man, that's why I stopped really playing sports seriously. I'm like, I like that idea. I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lose. I'm gonna learn.
That I've never heard that quote, and that's honestly, that's something I've always lived by. I've definitely lost way more than I've won.
No.
I've learned.
You paid tuition. You paid tuition.
Yeah.
You're learning.
Yeah. No, 100. Yeah. No, I paid my dues for sure, and I never looked at, what others would consider losses as anything that's like, it never stopped me from continuing. It never, put me in a mood. I've, the rejections and whatnot. It's all part of it, And yeah, one thing that I'm trying to do is, motivate people to be motivated to, go out and do the things. Don't be afraid. There's so much out there, regardless of, what you need to do during the day or at night, if you can just, if there's, something that you could just switch on in your brain, at some moment, maybe like something that, inspires you, something that you, truly like, I don't believe, people are, I don't believe that people are necessarily 100%, sad, upset, depressed all the time, and that, that there's someone out there living, an amazing life. Everyone's got the barriers that they have to deal with every day. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You have everything. There's so many rich, miserable people, and there's so many poor, miserable people. It's the people that are content with what they have. And I like to say, this guy, Jesse, he's a rapper, Livingston, and he has a concept, transform joy into currency, is like one, and I just love that idea. It's like, that's what I've been really able to do and trying to do, and working with these young people from Ludlow, they sold me a building for $1 to create artist-owned housing. And some of my students are homeless. I have kids who learned Circus with me who are now homeless. And Fisher is selling $800,000 homes in Ludlow because we sold them a stormwater easement. The city of Ludlow is going to drop the lawsuit in order for me to develop my space to give them that. And this guy, DJ Edwards, he's got 2 children. One is in foster care, and he's homeless right now. And who's going to do something about it? I am. I hired Landau Eugene Murphy Jr. He won America's Got Talent. He's homeless.
Oh, wow.
He's African-American. He likes to call Hamish, but that's hard for me to say, the son of Ham. But he's a black guy with dreads to his waist, and he sounds just like Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
And he performed here in Ludlow. He's interviewed DJ. I got this. The footage is going to be so great. DJ's been to jail about 60 times. Wow. Why do you think he's going to jail?
I'm not even going to try and...
All right, because for driving without a license.
Oh, wow.
So he's 16. Anybody can get their temps at 16. You go and you take a test. Not a driver's test, a written test. So he gets his temporary permit at 16 years old. Now he's in his early 30s, and he's been pulled over and he's gone to jail because he doesn't have a driver's license. And Zadi, being poor is hard. Okay, and I grew up not poor, but poor. But I could get a driving license. My dad took me. My car didn't have a cracked windshield. Both taillights were working. It had insurance. If you're a poor person, your vehicle probably isn't perfect.
Right.
So DJ and Landau didn't have his driver's license either, and America's Got Talent. So he was on AGT. And one of his relatives was using his name, so he had a felony he had to clean. So these 2 guys are driving around in my truck, talking about going to jail, getting their driver's license, and how hard it is. And it's fascinating because here's a kid from Ludlow, and an African-American guy, and Ludlow used to be a sundown town, so black people were not allowed to be in Ludlow when the sun went down.
Wow.
And that is, so when I announced my candidacy for mayor, I did it as Robert E. Lee, which pissed off a lot of people. But Robert E. Lee was in our parade. In 2014, Ludlow celebrated their 150th birthday party, the sesquicentennial. And I was in the parade. We had German Peace Corps volunteers. We had some Mexicans rolling around in unicycles. We had kids from Ludlow. I was walking on stilts. And in Ludlow, Kentucky, they had Robert E. Lee in 2014. We didn't have Uncle Sam. We didn't have Abraham Lincoln. We had Robert E. Lee.
That's insane.
And that offends me.
Yeah.
I can
imagine, yeah.
So that when I announced my candidacy, I did it as Robert E. Lee. And I said, Ludlow loves the Confederacy. Which, if I don't win office, that's fine. I don't expect to win. But I want to inspire every sundown town in the United States of America, if they still celebrate the Confederacy, like our museum still celebrates the Confederacy, these towns should be dissolved. Reparations probably will not get paid unless you're a J6 guy or a 3%er or you're Iran. I think we're going to pay reparations to Iran before we pay anybody else. So I'm really, instead of being angry about it, I'm going to be very articulate. I'm going to work to make fun of Robert E. Lee. And I'm going to encourage other clowns to file the papers, move to the town, run for office, and seek to dissolve communities that celebrate the Confederacy. Because there used to be about 20 Confederate flags that flew in Ludlow in 2009. We used to count them up. Now there's more gay pride flags than Confederate flags. Now, I'm neither gay nor Confederate, but you know who I'm rooting for. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's dangerous, but like I wanted to get some traction, and having Landau here and making fun of it is a way that I think will maybe get some attention.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is very inspiring. I can tell you that right now, and it inspires me to want to help as much as possible. Put things in a track where we can get back to a civil society. So
this guy Robert Smigel, he does the improv comic, the Mutt, the one with the cigar, and he does the Incredible Gay Duo on Saturday Night Live. So he's a really interesting producer in New York. But I was a terrorist clown in this. Dude, Robert, I hope you give us permission. It lives on YouTube. So it's so funny. So it's like Itzhak Rabin, Yasser Arafat, and Bill Clinton. Okay,
Yeah, yep.
And they're sitting at a table like this, and this is the late '90s. Okay, so this is before September 11th.
Yeah.
Before October 7th, but before the conflict, the Intifadas, before things were like as tense as they are.
Yeah.
And he's a clown. It's a clown show.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think Smigel, he's playing Yasser Arafat, and they're getting ready to have this big pie fight, and he says, I've jihaded up to here with you.
I'm dead.
Which is bad. Okay, so bad. And then he's like, oh, Hezbollah. And like, I'm one of two clowns that come out like in the by, like with a big pie fight, like as a Hezbollah. So like, I'm a Hezbollah clown in this segment. And I want to use it in this podcast. I want to reach out to Smigel and have all of our friends who are, who want to do something about Palestine, who want to like make fun of it, I think Robert is Jewish, okay, like I could be wrong, but I think so there's just all these people who know that making fun of things is the most powerful tool. Like Mad Magazine was such a great disruptive force for so many people. And so it's a lot, but, I just want to be like Mr. Rogers, trying to tell little stories and influence a new group of people. So the TV show is going to be for sale. People are going to have to pay for it. Unless you're a kid, it's going to be free on TikTok. So at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, about 90 seconds of each episode will come out. Because a kid's not going to watch 20 minutes anyway.
Right.
But if you're 50, you're not going to watch TikTok. You'll pay $5 to watch the series.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So like I'm monetizing this show that is going to be, and I'm going to sell it to Al Jazeera English. I'm going to sell it to Russia Today. It's going to be on the BBC. Like we're going to make fun of the United States globally, and it's going to be really funny. And like they're just writing the script, and it's really like it's going to be fun because the more mess they make, the more unbelievable it is. But that is the new power of the jester, really, the king and the jester. Like the poor people are here in the triangle, so poor people are on this side. The queen is at the top, the power's here, and then the earl of this, the duke of that, the minor royals, the Congress, the senators. So this is the power structure. The jester makes fun of all three things, and that's how stasis is maintained. So the queen, the president, everyone puts up with it because they know that's how power is kept. So I'm going to really work to take that apart, and it just pokes so hard at the minor power and the major power and do what the Estonians did. Try and get everybody laughing and singing. And maybe we open up a birkus in Bethlehem.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Catholics, they like beer. There's no beer, there's no Catholic schools.
Right.
There's no church festivals.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it. We can do it in Bethlehem. Well, maybe.
I'm definitely really excited for the show that you're coming out with. I'll definitely buy it. I'm, more than
Circus
happy.
Suites is what it's called. And it's really all about artist housing. Because the apartment next door to the theater is where we hosted these people from 50 different countries. And when I was a clown on the Ringling Brothers, I worked for a billionaire. And I made $3 an hour. I made $237 a week. And made a lot of money for the Feld family. And they gave me an opportunity but they took $10 out of my paycheck every week to live on their circus train.
Oh, wow.
So my room was 4 feet by 8 feet. I didn't have a water bill. I didn't have an electric bill. But to make $237 a week and have $10 go to pay these billionaires, it still hurts on my left ventricle, like right here. So I said, when I have a circus, I'm never going to rent to people. Like, I hate the company town model. So I brought all these people in, and I would pay them if they had a work visa. If they didn't have a work visa, I'd provide free accommodations. And I stuck to it. And that triggered a really big audit, because I was writing off the Wi-Fi and the hot water for the German Peace Corps volunteers when they were here. But my CPA, Whitney Stith, is incredible. 30 years I've been working with him. He helped me with my historical tax credits, and it's hard for me to shut up, but he's like, Paul, don't you say a word at this audit. And the auditor for the IRS, she said, I nailed Santa Claus 3 years ago. I'm going to get you clowned. Like, it was really baiting, but I didn't say a word. And everything I did was legal, right? Like, they had a volunteer visa, a B2 visa, a B1, B2 visa, and they were allowed to get $125 a week as a stipend. But they didn't have a social security number, so there was no way to give them a 1099. So it looked like I was just pocketing $250 in cash every week, but really I had my receipts, I had it all. So they were like, I survived the audit. I didn't have to pay the IRS anything. I had to pay my CPA, and I owe my CPA a little money. I'll pay you, Whitney, Rachel, I love you guys, okay? But they're really great people, and like that's what we do, like we learn some things. And I put a tankless hot water heater in the circus suites because we didn't have hot water on the circus train. So we just got to get better. We just got to get better with our things. But there's a circus school, the Palestinian Circus School, and I sent circus equipment. I can find a picture of the rings that I sent them. It's on my blog in honor of Khalid. So it's cool to have circus ties all around the world and have it not be about Jesus or Allah or the chosen people, just about making people happy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, that's at the end of the day, when it comes to beliefs and whatnot, the beliefs that everyone's born and raised into just the normalcy of, like, do this, follow in line, believe in this, so on and so forth. And you don't need that to have a good time. You don't need that to have a good society. You need, one of the things I think that, truly holds society together, and I mean, you kind of proved it earlier with the Estonia story, is song and dance. I cannot imagine, I mean, it's kind of real. Seeing it in U.S. society, like, just the fact that, like, if there was, like, just more of people doing, song and dance, in whatever manner, like, because it doesn't hurt anyone.
And what's beautiful is I went back, I got my degree at CCM, and twice I've been an adjunct faculty member at CCM. Like when things go south, like once Richard, the head of the department, was doing a sabbatical in Nairobi, and my circus kids from Kibera, which is the biggest slum in Africa, like, they met Richard and helped him get through security. It was cool because I had, like, special forces circus kids there that helped this,
nice.
This little, like, very light-skinned white guy with red curly hair. Like, my circus people helped him out. And then they fired a professor for some they-them gender bending stuff, and I got hired in about 2 days to teach at CCM. So twice I've been an adjunct. And really I did it more just to tell the kids, like, finish. But school is really arbitrary. Nobody cares. It's about what you could do in my world of performance.
Yeah, of course.
But I've learned so much from my time at Covenant Catholic. They were very patient with me, and I'm a troublemaker. Same thing at CCM. And that's the city is suing the Institute of Social Circus and Vocational Training Center because I believe in vocational training. I've trained up people who are doing really amazing things in the circus, and vocational training, college isn't for everybody. And I tell everyone, don't borrow the money. FAFSA forms are because you could borrow money, and then never get a job,
Right,
like,
exactly.
Don't, if you're going to be a dentist, take the money, because dentists get paid, if you're not going to be, FAFSA is the enemy. So I'm really against financial aid, but, and that's what's cool. Hope's going to go to circus school. She's got the money saved, and my son is getting paid to go to NKU because he did really well at Dixie Heights High School, and it's part of it's need-based aid because I don't make a lot of money, but money is not interesting to me. Access, and going to Rwanda and going to Colombia and having friends like Chris who set up meetings at the U.S. consulate in Cape Town, and just that I'm so filthy rich in connections, and thank you really for this opportunity, and
Yeah.
the money comes, man. I lost a fortune, I won a fortune, I got a fortune pending in court, but it's all stupid, you know. I mean, it really is. What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's just a concept,
Just
people
another
created
zero.
just another zero, stuff that won't matter, once we're dead. It doesn't matter in moments like this when we're having genuine conversation. It doesn't matter when you're, forming the youth into the next generation. It's disgusting how, deep we are in this whole misconception that wealth equals money, when wealth equals, is just, I definitely think, those who are content are the wealthiest. I mean, there are, my mom, she's an investment advisor for Merrill Lynch, and she tells me about her clientele all the time, and how, like, there are these, people who, together live off of like a married couple live off, a salary, both of them together less than 100K, yet they have, the best sort of spending habits, and have, been able to save, up to upwards of, like, a couple $1,000,000, and still, haven't even come close to retirement. And it's just, and especially hearing, your stories and your experience, that is definitely, I think, one of the, wealthiest, things you can obtain, is just, the accessibility, like you say, and, just the ability to see the world for what it is, actually, be there in the moment. And yeah, I mean,
Well, and also, like, again, so much of it is white privilege. Okay, like, who else is going to talk back to the guy, the customs guy in Kenya? Okay, like, there's not a lot of people. Like, this guy has never had, not never, but
Right.
It's just, and like, if I had to pay the $200, I would have, again, did I have the money? Yes, but I didn't want to spend the money like that. But the story and the pictures are worth so much, and it's just a fun way of, because people want to be in control, and what my job is to do is kind of trick them into letting go of their grip of control for a higher purpose. Because I wasn't selling that equipment in his country. I literally was giving it away. And they need to tax gifts because that's how so, like, it's everywhere does it differently. But I got to bring circus equipment to 4 different circus groups in Uganda and in Kenya and in Rwanda. And these are people I've known online or I've met in real life. And what was so cool is I'd open up the suitcase, we'd put everything out. I said, all right, you can take 25% of whatever you want. Don't take all, because there's 4 groups that are going to share this. Take whatever is going to work with your group of people. Don't take all the books. There's a dozen books. So you pick the 3 books you like. And strategically, I didn't come like Santa Claus, like the white guy giving people stuff, because they're so sick of that situation.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So I gave the equipment to the different circus coaches ahead of time. And then I just showed up like another white guy there doing whatever as a part of a mission. And then I just start juggling with the kids. And they're like, what? And then I got kids climbing on top of me and teaching them tricks. And that's what was like, I got goosebumps because it was just so freaking cool to just be. And for me to do things with Magwanya is the guy from Uganda. And I'm juggling with him and he's standing on my shoulders and all of his students got to see me doing something like with Magwanya as an equal or as a lesser than, And Jonathan in Rwanda, the kids really watched us learning this trick and he was teaching me a trick and I wasn't really good at it. I was juggling and he was like jumping over my head and then taking the clubs and crawling under my legs. And like I'd never done that trick. And finally we got it. And the kids were so happy. It was just so cool to be like there as he's the master. I'm in his space. I'm bringing toys, equipment. Anyway, it was a different way of looking at development instead of like, oh, hey, I'm the white guy that's going to fix it all, Because we have made white guys have caused more problems than we can ever fix.
Yeah, I mean, that is a hot topic regarding, that colonialization, stuff like, just why people are so upset these days, learning about new things that, we weren't taught growing up, why this has happened there, what, you learn about, this happening in Iran, you learn about this happening in Cuba, you learn about, blah, blah,
Venezuela,
blah.
But it's interesting. So the guys, I don't like to ride an Uber because I don't want to wait, okay? Like I have to get places. Like I have a lot of places to go. So when I was in Nairobi, I was trying to find the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Nairobi. And the Facebook had one address, LinkedIn had another address, and Google had another address. So there's like 20 guys on their motorcycles. Okay? And they're all waiting. And there's no white guys on the back of motorcycles, okay? Or no Americans, white, black, whatever. So I'll get in trouble with some of my friends for calling myself white, but it doesn't matter. So I would approach them. I said, hey, first of all, I'm a big, dumb American, and I need some help. I speak English, but you speak English. We both speak English because the British colonized us, okay? And I'm an Irishman, and they still got about 20% of my country. But you guys got rid of them. You did it. Kenyans, Ugandans, you got totally rid of the British Empire. Now we're speaking English because the English, and then they're like, So I picked the guy, I don't pick a motorcycle that's too dirty because it might fall apart. You don't pick one that's too clean because it's not his bike. So I picked the guy with the baddest motorcycle jacket with a motorcycle that was just somewhere between dirty and clean. So Henry, I asked, I don't speak Swahili. How's your English? My English is fine. Where are we going? And I said, we're trying to go. I showed him, I was like, here's 3 addresses. Which one's the closest? And he's not happy. And he's the deal with me. And he's like, well, but first we're going to the gas station. And he's like, why? I said, because you're on empty, man. We're going to fill this gas tank up. So he was really confused. So we jump on the back of the motorcycle. It's like, I'm just like, dude. So we're at the gas station. I'm like, Henry, slow down. Okay, our government's shut down right now. Literally, the government shut down. It's like, if I fall off the motorcycle, no one's going to help me. Okay? So, I'm 250 pounds at the time. I'm down a little bit, but I'm 250. I'm maybe 2 or 3 African guys. And you probably drive 3 African guys on your motorcycle, 3 Kenyans, but I was like, just take it slow. And all the exhaust that goes out of the truck this way, I want you to drive around it because I'm sensitive eyes, and I need to stay out of the smoke. And he's but we fill up the gas tank. And then he takes me to I say, first we're going to stop at this brewery. And then he takes off. He leaves. Because he got a full tank of gas.
Oh, my God.
So then, this is Nairobi. This is crazy. So then I hire another driver to get me to the next location. And then I see him. He's driving around, maybe looking for me, maybe not. He's like, Mr. Paul, you left me. I'm like, shut up, Henry. You left me. And I'm arguing with him. So he became my driver for when I was in Kenya for 3 days. And we're on WhatsApp. He sent me a message the other day. So when I go back to Kenya, he drove. It's so cool to have this guy who's he was my guide. It's literally, I don't speak Swahili. We couldn't find the U.S. Chamber of Commerce because we don't have one now.
Right.
It's America first. USAID's canceled. They literally, there's 3 different addresses. I spent U.S. taxpayer money driving around looking for all of them. I didn't need the Chamber of Commerce. I was trying to play nice by the rules. But Henry's my dude. I'll send you pictures so you can see what a badass he is. And he shot the video for me. I bounced a ladder on my chin at 254 Brewing Company, and the guy was cleaning the windows and it was just so much fun to have a guy who's, I'm not going to call him a friend. It was a business transaction, but he's looking out for me. He's going to take it easy. I don't argue with anybody about money. And that's some American tips. Okay. Wherever you are, you're in Cancun, you don't haggle people. Our dollar is so strong and so silly. Pay the full sticker price and then give a tip. It's just such a stupid move to argue about money.
It really is. Yeah. The other day or yesterday or whatever, I picked up breakfast for me and my fiance, and I ordered a cup of fruit that I didn't get, and it was $5, and she's like, "Call them, get your money back," and I'm like, I don't care that much. It's $5. We're here now. We're eating. We're fine. We're gonna be fulfilled regardless. I'm gonna forget about the $5. Once we finish our meal, it's okay. It's fine.
It's totally. It's how much energy do we spend fighting and argue about stuff, and it's and that's fun to even tell Hope. She's like, well, Dad, I booked this one place. It's non-refundable. It's with the Ecuadorian embassy, but your circus friend, she's going to give me a spot, and I don't know. I was like, how much is it? Well, it's $15. Just give it to him. It's you're not going to. Anyway, it's just a fun way of looking at how do we want to spend it. And when she was in London, and she was in Wales, and she was in Belfast, she was Brexit, she was complaining about how expensive things were. And it's honey, that's what Brexit was. It was let's complain about everything. Let's blame everybody. And nothing's going to get fixed. Stuff is just going to cost a lot more money.
Right.
And, it's why didn't we spend any energy letting you complain about stuff? Why don't I complain about City Hall or Fisher Development or Because if I spend any energy complaining or in court fighting people like that, it's a waste of my energy.
Right.
You know, complaining is such a waste. So
It is, yeah.
it's just thank you for letting the $5 fruit cup go, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all how do we want to spend our energy,
Yeah,
and that's going to be the energy crisis. Is going to be everyone is spending energy being angry about stuff, worrying about how much money do I have, and I don't have any money, but man, I got some real estate and connections and opportunities. So thank you for this. And the greed is just such a problem.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely one who differs anger from blowback, essentially. Like, and I think you're definitely one who's doing the utmost blowback, you know, that people can offer right now, at least, you know, and, you know, it's definitely really inspiring. And I kind of, just to wrap things up right now, any advice for, you know, young next generation?
I'll look,
and everyone.
I'll look at our president and I will say, if you're in legal or financial problems, you should run for office. Okay, because I think I'm in legal and financial problems, and so was he. I believe he was. So I'm kind of half kidding, but really, it's like fighting things how people want you to fight is the asymmetrical warfare. Like, we won our independence 250 years plus 1 day. Today's the 5th.
Right.
All right? The British fought us with red coats and white X's. It's easy to shoot them like a target.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. It's like, so did we line up and fight them? Hell no. I was in Brooklyn. I've been spending a lot of time in Brooklyn lately, and I went to Fort Greene. And Fort Greene is where, like, that's where it was the highest point. So you could see Manhattan, and the British were coming this way. And Washington just retreated. Fog came up. He got across. He got over to Manhattan. And the British, you know, they took over, and they held Manhattan for the entire Revolutionary War. And the prisoner ships there, that's where they put all the prisoners. And there were about 10,000 people that were held for those 4 years. And it haunts me because they said the skulls used to wash up like pumpkins, like on the East River, because that's where the development started. So they end up scooping it all up, and there's 10,000 people buried. The soldiers are buried at Fort Greene in Brooklyn. So it's like a tomb of unknown soldiers, really. But they have some names. So, like, I'm really inspired by Fort Greene. And when I watch the PBS series, Ken Burns just did this, like, 6-part series about the American Revolution. So watch it. Pay for it. PBS needs your support. But the United States of America, we just kept retreating and having more babies and getting foreign help. We got the Spanish first helped us, and then the French helped us, and then we hired von Steuben, this German guy, and then Casimir Pulaski, the Polish guy. Like, we just imported all of this talent, and the Native Americans that wanted to work with us, we still screwed them in the end, but we strung out the war so that we could get all of New York and kill all those tribes, because the Iroquois were very strong tribes. We lost the Battle of Quebec. We lost a lot in Canada. Like, I didn't learn that history. We don't learn where we lose. I took AP history at Covcath. They don't teach you the losses. Right. They just talk about the victories. So that Ken Burns is amazing. So that's the strategy I'm using. I need to not lose, which is what Washington did. I need to import talent, which is what he did. And we lost in Vietnam because we fought like the British. We lost in Iraq. We lost in Afghanistan. We are losing in Iran. We are losing because they are fighting us asymmetrically.
Yeah.
So I am fighting very powerful people asymmetrically. I'm going to make them very famous. And I'm going to use my big mouth and my white privilege. And if you have those capabilities, use them. But don't fight people like they want us to fight.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're in martial art, you know. That's what you do.
Yeah,
you know, and you're looking for an angle, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you can be the strongest guy, but you just need that one little moment and like to twist it. So like that's the key. And if you fight enough, you're going to know those things. So, you know, physical violence or political violence or, you know, and use social media. Like, I don't use social media negatively. I post stuff and I poke some people, but it's such a waste of time to spend to go negative. So that's my advice for people. Like, look at our history where we won, study our losses, and channel your inner Nelson Mandela. You know, I mean, he was just the lead singer anyway. They had an entire system behind him. You know, and the people that run South Africa, they're just the top cast There are a lot of them are dark African people that are manipulating the poor people. And I will close with one thing that was fascinating because I want to tell the story about taking apart the myth of white supremacy. In Cape Town, they found the very first cemetery where all the slaves or indentured servant or enslaved people, like whatever we want to say. And the very first people at the bottom of this grave were Irish people. Because Irish were the slave. Like 800 years ago, they practiced their colonization. They developed all their tactics, the English, the British, they did it in Ireland. And then you can call it indentured servants, but really these were enslaved people.
Yeah.
And like the Jamaican accent is an Irish accent, all right? Because the Irish developed the ports there.
Yeah.
You know, before they imported the Indian slaves, before they enslaved the Africans, before they created a mix, they had a colored race where they had white and black. They mixed and they called the coloreds, and they gave the coloreds more power than the Africans and the Afrikaners. So it's this caste system. But when the apartheid system was there, when Elon Musk, when his dad was there, and Peter Thiel, the guy that owns Facebook, the guy that ran J.D. Vance's campaign, he's a German. He's a gay German, okay? And he lived in the German part of South Africa. So these two white supremacists, they rule the world right now. And when Mandela came to power, now when you go to Cape Town, you learn the true history that the oldest slaves were white people. Because they didn't tell that story, because that defeats the white supremacy myth. So that's the caste system. It's heavy. But to be there and see that and see them telling a more fuller truth is really interesting.
Yeah.
And when I see Musk pissing off all the people in Belfast at the Sudanese, that's not the problem, man. Like, we have to quit fighting everybody like they want us to fight. So that's what I'm really passionate about. And thank you, taxpayers, because I used your money to go to Cape Town, South Africa. Smart bombs or smart clowns. So, Zadi, thank you for this thing. You know, it's heavy. And I'll send you pictures to prove it. I'm not full of baloney. It sounds like I am, but really, these are things that I really appreciate this opportunity to share with folks. So we'll see who clicks.
Dude, this was probably the most rewarding podcast episode I've done so far.
Me too. Sincerely.
What, links, where can, people, keep up with you at? Where can people help you out at, support you at,
Piefighter.dev. So it's a weird, like, piefighter.com was taken, but I'm a pie fighter. It's sweet and dirty. So I have a book out. The book is rough. So I've been in this lawsuit with the city of Ludlow for 4 years, and I had to turn over 5,000 pages of documents for discovery. I had to give it to the Kentucky Department of Tourism. Ludlow suing the Kentucky Department of Tourism. That's how backwards they are. They don't want people to come to town. They're suing the bank. So I wrote a book, Circus in a Sundown Town, Pie Fighting, Sweet and Dirty Community Development. And it's published by Fraternity Rose Press. Jeremy Clark he's an author. He's also the publisher of the book. He opened up a bookstore here in Ludlow. He lasted about 2 years, which is fine, but now he's got a place called The Tome Books and Novelties. It's on the east side of Cincinnati. My book is available there on the shelf if you don't want to give the money to Jeff Bezos. So please support your locally owned African-American bookstore. And it's not great, okay? Like, the book, it needs some improvements. But by the time the lawsuit's over or I get my final day in court, I'll update it with a second edition. And there's a 6-part workbook that goes with it that I produce all my receipts, because when I got the Ludlow Theater on the National Historic Registry, I couldn't find a tool, like a guide on how to do it. Okay. So I produced all the documents to go along with it. It's a 1,800-page workbook. It's in 6 different parts. So, because it's part of my vocational training school. If you're going to have a school, you got to have a textbook. So it's a work in progress. But being on podcasts like this, Birkus Beer is our Instagram feed. Circus Mojo is our Instagram feed, the website. I cross-pollinate a lot of stuff, but soon you'll be able to tune in for Circus Suites, the TV show. And it'll be free on TikTok for folks that don't got the dinero, but if you got some cash, you're going to pay for it. Yeah. Because it's, it's just like Ozarks, okay? Except it's like real life, right. All these, it's a strange... I went to see the movie Disclosure Day last night. Okay. Great movie, this will be a reality docuseries. and it'll follow our development in Ludlow and in Rwanda and in Colombia. It's the Amazing Race, except we're going to build stuff. Nobody gets voted off our island. We're just going to make a better island. And for people who watch America's Got Talent, I want you to know that every time you tune in, Simon Cowell is who's making the money. He got paid $95 million last year. And nobody gets paid on that show unless you win $1 million. And then you give Uncle Sam half of your $1 million. And then you have just sustained the ruling class. So turn off AGT and tune in to local shows. Go see a band.
Yeah.
Go to the theater.
Yeah.
Support your local stuff. Like that is, if you really want to do something, go see a local band. Go see a play. Go to the Fringe Festival and Over the Rhine. Do things that are weird. Because that's what a date wants anyway. A date doesn't want to Netflix and chill. No, buy some tickets, fool. Go out. Do the thing. Your fiance, let's do it. Do the thing.
If it's one thing that I've always supported, it's, supporting local small businesses, within your community, screw AGTV, whatever, screw the establishment currently, parts of it, of course. This is definitely where it's at,
But my friend Eli, maybe he could be a guest on your podcast, okay?
Yeah.
Eli's from Cuba.
Okay.
He was on the national gymnast team for Cuba.
Oh, wow.
So the train go so here we are. We're in the train yard, so
it shouldn't pick it up. So we're
all
good.
right.
Yeah.
So Eli was on the national gymnast team. Sought asylum in America. He's Cuban, so he got a green card immediately because that's how. There's one protected class, it's the Cubans, and that's why we have Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. If you're any other minority, if you're Palestinian, you don't get it just like that. But if you're Cuban, you get it, all right? So he's Cuban. I worked with a lot of Cubans, and I love the Cubans. But Eli was on The Voice.
Okay. All right.
He was just on The Voice, and he couldn't talk about it because he signed all these NDAs and stuff. But Snoop Dogg turned around. He was on Team Bublier. His mom and dad were there, and it's so cool because here's a guy that was in my circus, performed the straps, great artist. We worked together on and off. He fixed some of the buildings for me because he's good at construction too. He is such a talented guy. Got on 2 episodes of The Voice and then got cut. And now he's playing local bars and stuff, and I love Eli. But he'd be such a cool guy to talk about music and to talk about. He's probably signed a lot of NDAs. Probably some things he can or cannot say, but it's fun because he's a super talented Cuban that really helped us develop Ludlow, Kentucky. And you can read about him in my book, along with the guy Roberto. He was a Cuban guy who was the first Cubans to go to the circus school in the Soviet Union. And he lived in Ludlow for 6 months. And Jim, who runs Hader's Dry Goods, he rented to him. He's like, how's his credit, Paul? I'm like, dude, he has no credit. He's from Cuba. It's funny, right? So I had to pay 6 months in advance. Okay. And Jim's like, isn't Cuba our enemy? I'm like, Jim, it's not the 50s. But in Jim's 70, so it's still the 50s in Jim's mind. Yeah. And he's owned the building for 50 years. Great dude in Ludlow. All my Circus Mojo t-shirts have come from him. I spent a fortune with Jim over the past 17 years. And we're good friends. We're business allies. So Roberto lived there. He's like, if he doesn't speak English, how on earth is he going to be your coach? And I said, well, in the circus, you need about 7 or 8 words. You need up, down, right, left, yes, no, again. Okay? And I could learn those words in Arabic and teach at the Palestinian Circus School, because those are 7 words. So it's really been a fun way of working with folks. But he'd be a great guest if you consider having him on. Maybe he sings some songs because I'm really into promoting him, and we could do a better job promoting him than NBC did. The Voice, Team Bublier. But then if we talk about Bublier and we ask him to get engaged, hey, what does it cost you to share this, Michael Bublier? Nothing, dude. Come on, help us out. Help us starving artists.
Send me. His name's Eric.
Eli Gomez. I will.
Send me Eli's contact information. We'd love to have him on.
Maybe without all this noise with some air conditioning,
But man, what a great time it's been. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah. Bye,
join the circus world. See the world, kids.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. It means a lot. Don't forget again to subscribe, like, dislike, leave a positive comment, leave a negative comment. I don't care. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you next time.